that the University of Minnesota would result in required examinations of teacher candidates. Now, these are students who want to become teachers.
Right.
Teaching candidates. They're going to examine them in terms of white privilege as well as remedial re-education for those who hold the wrong views. This is mass mind control and incredible programming. I mean, this is amazing.
Favor re-education and reprogramming for Satan worshippers who think that they are superior. Now, these guys were planning to create a super race of ruling humans.
Well, they're still there. They're God's chosen, aren't they? Isn't that a super race?
Well, the thing is, it's like, this is where you have to understand that we're dealing with Nazis, okay? And there are a lot of Jewish Nazis and Zio-Nazis, but it's not a Jewish thing so much as a Nazi thing. This is the point I want to make very clear.
Don't even say Jewish, say Zionist, because
Zionist, because the Jews have nothing to do with this.
Well, they have something to do with it, but it's Zionism. That's the codification.
Jews is a decent person.
But we know that. We don't have to keep apologizing for that. We know that.
I know. It's just that they use that as camouflage. They use these fool people.
Yeah, it's been done. So that's one of Theodore Herzl's scams, was to get in and take over organized Jewry and make it a front for this whole thing, which is what they've done. And unfortunately, many Jews have bought into it, but that's the bottom line.
After the commercial, I'm going to tell you, I've got an update on that $134 billion in bonds that were seized in Italy.
Oh, that's a good story. All right,
they're
very
here
good.
in Japan now, and they're trying to cash them, but they're not
really?
going to get it.
That one of the people that visited you, was it?
Well, the people who have it, the two Japanese who were arrested were a guy called Yamaguchi.
All right, hang on.
A guy called Watanabe.
Got it. Hold on. Be right back. With Ben Fulford, live from Tokyo. Okay, and we are back. Talking to Ben Fulford. All right, Ben, so this story, it's one of those stories that comes and goes too quickly. Go ahead.
Two Japanese men carrying diplomatic passports were arrested in Italy, carrying $134.5 billion worth of government bonds. Now, the official cover story that went out was that they were forgeries, but of course the two men were released. So it's just, and then they just left it at that. But in fact, the Pope, Ratzinger, personally intervened to have them released. And then the bonds were sent back to the Federal Reserve Board. And they were using that, they were going to use that in an attempt of economic warfare against Iran. And it was stopped. And so some Turkish guy and a Macedonian with a Swiss passport showed up in Japan with those bonds, and they're trying to get, former Governor of Bank of Japan and prime ministers and stuff to help cash them to keep the feds going. Well, that's not going to happen. It's been stopped, and those people have been arrested, and so their whole sort of network of flunkies here in Japan is being flushed out now. But it's still an ongoing thing. We still have the Queen of England messing around. We still have the Feds still trying to do their thing. I mean, there's still, and then we got Ratzinger, who's blocking good work within the Vatican. Vatican wants to release the new technology, and it's only the Pope, I believe, and maybe the Black Pope, the head of the Jesuit, Hovenbach. I know he's officially not the Superior General anymore, but he really is. But if these people don't block it, it'll happen soon. There's important meetings now happening in Switzerland, in Japan, and probably in the U.S.
Bill, this issue of bills, these are not like currency. These are still. I'm going to go back to this effort to cash these. They're bonds or bills? What are they? They're bonds. What were
bonds and the bills, and they're backed by gold.
Okay.
And they have like deliberate misspelling and stuff on them, so they can always say, "Oh, look, this is an obvious forgery," right?
All right. But do you think they're real?
Well, they're real, but they're no longer valid.
Okay.
In other words, the Chinese say, "No, we don't consider those to be valid anymore. They weren't."
Is this a story, Ben? Is this story in the media? There has anyone been talking about this, or did you just pick it up through your sources?
I picked it up through my sources. I mean, the media here only mentioned it when they were arrested in Italy in June, and then it's just been silent. But I have sources with the Japanese security police and the Yakuza and all sorts of folk who keep me. I mean, I have so much information they're giving me. It's almost like, when you get all this secret information coming to you, just stop reading the newspaper because it's all just a fabric of lies. It's not worth your time to read that stuff anymore.
Well, I can't sum it up any better than that.
It's almost like a Harry Potter world where you have these witches and these people and then the muggles,
Mm-hmm.
And the muggles are the poor fools who still get their information from the corporate propaganda media, and it's like we're living on two different planets almost.
Well, at least two.
Yeah. And they throw all sorts of disinformation my way. I mean, I know that probably the universe is full of life and there are extraterrestrials, but I'm not going to believe it until I see the mile-long UFO with my own eyes, and I'm not going to let that disinformation...
Well, then somebody might tell you it's just a holographic image, Ben. It's not real.
Well, if I see it and it looks real to me, then I'll
All right.
And if I see aliens walking around the shopping centers, then I'll know. But until then,
right.
I'm still assuming that it's up to us humans to fix this planet.
Yeah,
well... And you've got to remember, despite all the confusion, all the subterfuge, all the disinformation, it's really, really a simple thing that's going on. A very nasty criminal group has taken control of most of the world's savings, and they've been spending on a giant military killing machine for decades.
Nicely said.
The whole planet...
Decades? How about centuries?
Centuries, yeah. And now the people of the planet have risen up, led by the Chinese and the Asians, but also by the white hats in the Pentagon and in Europe and people like yourself. And we're saying, look, that's no way to spend people's money. And instead, they're going to spend it on the environment, on ending poverty, on developing the forbidden technology. And the deal with the Pentagon is we'll hire them to be like the samurais, the protectors of the planet. And we'll make sure that, because they've told me repeatedly they don't want to end up like the Soviet Union where you have a general suddenly finds himself driving a taxi in London, And so they will be paid generously to help get rid of the Fed. And then there'll be a sort of swords to plowshares transformation of that organization.
Boy, you're a therapy to my ears. Every time you're on, you bring this positive spin forward, and everyone hopes you're right.
You see, here in Japan, the change has already taken. The new government, if you just read what's in the newspapers here now, and it's not being reported in the Western press much, you can see that there has been a total regime change. From what was put in place after World War II. So it's already happened here. That's why I'm much more optimistic, because the U.S. is still under control of these satanic scumbags. But not for long, not for long. Their day of reckoning is coming. Bit by bit, piece by piece, a prosecution here, a court case there, an arrest there, a suicide there, and it's coming apart. They're slowly being ground down to dust. You got Paul Wolfowitz, he's like one of the number one bad guys now. I'm hearing rumors, I can't confirm, that George Bush Sr. and Barbara Bush were killed at Fort Hood. We still don't know if that's true or not, but...
What did you see? What?
Well, according to MI6, what happened at Fort Hood, there was a bunch of big limousines there at the time. And we know that much. And we know that George Bush Jr. and his wife immediately flew there to so-called control the victims. Well, they didn't immediately fly to any other...
No, he wouldn't. No, that wouldn't work. All right, hold on with this story. Ben gets a lot of wild stuff. I want to hear this in detail in just a couple minutes from Benjamin Fulford live in Tokyo, so stay right there.